Hey y'all, this is Go.
Woo! Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. This is the Brothas-in-law. I'm your host tonight, Corey, and my co-host tonight is Mr. Michael Bradley. And we have two very distinguished guests tonight, Mr. Joe Leonardo out of California, and well, I'm going to call you Goat because that's all I know you by is Goat. But Mr. Lot Gilmore, a.k.a. Goat, here out of Chesapeake, Virginia. We're going to talk about something that's very controversial across the country. You always hear about it on the news. Every time we have a mass shooting, happen and usually happens with a AR-15. Most people like to call it a weapons of mass destruction, and they like to call it a assault rifle. Well, tonight, folks, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to try to break it down for you so that you get an understanding of what, in fact, a weapons of mass destruction really is. So I'll let Joe and Goat both take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves, where you're from, what you do, and what you gentlemen bring to the table, and we'll get the show started. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Tone.
Joe Leonardo with Leo Defensive Concepts. We're a firearms training company out in California. I retired as a 29-year police lieutenant, and just kind of hanging out with these guys and trying to share some information out here.
Well, thank you. Welcome.
All right, everybody. My name's Taylor Gilmore. Everybody's calling me Goat. Joke is Admirals Generals will call me Goat, so you can call me Goat too. From Arkansas, I served for Corps in the military, and my current occupation now is a subject matter expert, as well as a T&E analyst, test evaluation analyst, and I have an extensive background in firearms, machine guns. I've fired everything from a 9mm to a 5-inch gun on the United States Navy's destroyer.
Well,
thanks for being on the show. Thanks for the viewers for joining us. I hope we're going to have a really good discussion. Hope everybody is getting ready to have a nice weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We got, a lot of, I'm going to just kind of throw a blanket one out there that's open for discussion. We got a couple of shootings that happened recently. You got the one in Sacramento, which was like a gang type shooting. And then you had the one in New York. Everybody has seen that all over the news on the subway there. Safe to say we can call these mass shootings. Can we agree on that, gentlemen? So, let's just kind of talk about, a lot of people are concerned about, are they safe? Should they carry firearms off duty? Then we get into discussions of AR-15s. Is AR-15 considered an assault weapon? Is AR-15, is that something that folks in the community should be worried about, whether or not people are in possession of these types of guns? What do you guys say about that? Either one jump in.
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, my opinion, I would say, as far as the community being worried about an individual possessing the particular tool, no, it wasn't. Because it's just like an apprentice carpenter and a master carpenter. You can give him a hammer and some nails. He doesn't have the skills to use it. He's not going to build anything. But obviously the master, he's skilled at his trade. He will be able to construct a nice, beautiful home. So at the end of the day, it goes back to the people's education when it comes to those weapons. As we discussed earlier, the person in New York, he had a tool. He fired approximately 33 rounds. Then he wounded only 10 people. Thank God that's what happened. No, there was no fatalities. or anyone hurt. But I would say that your threat level will raise due to the knowledge of the user of that tool. If he's not very knowledgeable, he's not gonna inflict the damage on a well-trained individual who knows how to use those tools and will be effective at applying them.
Okay.
Michael, I'm gonna kind of contradict a little bit what you said in regard to, because this is a discussion, and when we talked about Sacramento, a lot of people got shot. A lot of people got shot, and it was unfortunate. But I believe that was more of a criminal act in the sense of, two groups of people, didn't agree with each other and began to shoot at each other, right? And so now you get this this crime scene with a lot of people hurt, and all that. But to call it in the reference of a mass shooting, kind of like an active shooter kind of situation, I don't think that fits the bill for that. It was a crime, criminal intent. People died. But to call it a mass shooting in the sense of what the government calls mass shootings, I don't think that fits the parameters of that. With New York or Manhattan in the subway, that was a mass shooter, and he had the intent to go in and to cause as much damage as he could, as quickly as he could. Lighting off smoke bombs to kind of distract people out. He put on a gas mask. I mean, his whole intent was to cause terror there, and that would be a mass shooter there. Even though people, and thank God they didn't die. He was trying to do as much damage as he could in a short amount of time and then get away.
Right. Good. So the title of tonight's show is an AR-15, a weapon of mass destruction. Again, just as everyone thus far spoke on, the type of weapons we're using, these two type of scenarios. I believe one was in New York using a handgun, and on the West Coast was a handgun. But what is it? Why do you think, Joe and Goat, are they saying that an AR-15 is a weapon of mass destruction? What makes it a weapon of mass destruction?
Or is it a weapon of mass destruction?
You want to go first, Joe?
Sure. I think a AR-15, an Armalite rifle, because Armalite, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It's the rifle name at one time, and so I think politically, it's politically charged. It's I think to a degree, and again, I don't mean to be taking this in that political realm there, because everybody has their sides and everybody has their opinions on that. I just think that at one point, it's a rifle that's out there that a lot of people do own in the United States, and so it's one of those things that it's probably available to that criminal also, and they take it and they go and shoot it and cause and cause criminal and have criminal intent with it.
Right.
So with that said, I think it's black and it looks like a military piece of equipment. And it's really easy to shoot. It does carry 30-round magazines you can't introduce 30-round magazines into it, and even more. And low recoil, lots of bullets. You can go on and on with it. And why it's a choice, because a lot of Americans own it,
Right.
because it's a very handy rifle to have. A lot of people, women included, shoot it and shoot it accurately. They have good times with it. They hunt with it. They carry it for defensive measures and home protection. So there's a lot of uses for it. Now, is it something that's for mass destruction, or is it an assault rifle? No. It's something that I believe that it's politically charged when they try to put in those buzzwords, assault rifle. they're just trying to make it this evil, thing, evil intent, and it's not.
Joe, do you think it's more fear that they're trying to push in?
I think it's a lot.
Or more political.
I think it's fear. I think, and then along with fear, right, we can control with, because if I can scare a lot of people and have a lot of fear in the community, then we can start banning it. We can start taking it away. We can start calling it, illegal. We can start, put limitations on it. And it's an inanimate object, and we were talking off air earlier, I mean, when we talk about things of mass destruction, an inanimate object is not mass destruction, right? It's the person, it's the intent. The example of Goat was bringing up, with a hammer. I can have a hammer on the desk here, and I can build you a beautiful house. It's an inanimate object, but I can take it and I can build you a beautiful house. At the same time, I can take that same hammer and I can destroy that house. Okay, I can have an AR-15. It's an inanimate object. I can defend myself with it. I can defend my family. I can go hunting with it. I can go plinking on, Saturday afternoons with my kids and at the shooting range. I can take that with criminal intent, and I can also hurt people with that. And so it's the person that is the it's the person of mass destruction. It's not the inanimate object that they're using.
What say you, Go?
All right, so the AR-15 is a sporting rifle, and as we said off air, that weapon is commercial grade weapon. It is not built to the standard of a M4 or M16. The most average AR-15s now are similar to an M4 carbine. So when we talk about the M4 carbine, that's a contracted weapon, and it's going to be built to a certain spec, and the materials and its capabilities will far exceed AR-15. When we talk about the materials, we're talking about materials that can survive in various environments. I mean, Corey, you've seen me crawl through mud, swim across the river, carry that weapon, and it still worked on when I got on the other side. So an AR-15's barrel material, unless you happen to get the same material that the barrel will be M4 to be created, your average commercial AR-15 is not even going to survive the round count that the M4 is built to, because it lacks the material. Every military weapon is tested to a spec, because that's what the government demands. The other thing, as far as it looks like an M4, doesn't make it an M4. It's a semi-automatic weapon. Yes, it has the capability of holding a standard magazine of 30 rounds. Nobody is going to deploy with a AR-15. So that's another thing. Weapons that you deploy with are not built to the same standards. Okay, so your AR-15 looks scary. Whoop-de-doo. Just like we said with the hammer. It's the person behind the firearm or the tool what brings up its effectiveness for it to be lethal or cause damage. All right, so we're all adults here, so we all know naming conventions are very important. You get a campaign behind a name, you can get some things moving. Calling something an assault rifle when it's not, that's just foolishness. Would I say it's political? I'll say it's political, and also it's to induce fear. And the numbers don't lie. In America, hands, feet, and we'll say bludgeon weapons kill more people than firearms do. When it comes to firearms, handguns kill more people than a rifle would or AR-15 would. Just think of the last couple mass shootings. One in the subway, the guy used a Glock. And obviously I don't have access to the police reports, but I believe the Sacramento shooting, those guys might have had the Glock switches on them, for lack of better words, the switch you put on the back of Glock to turn it into a fully automatic pistol, if I've heard the news reports correctly. So at the end of the day, an AR-15 is not a weapon of mass destruction. From when I hear the word mass destruction, I'm thinking of a Moab an actual nuclear weapon or chemical biological weapon,
Right.
not a rifle that's with a 30-round magazine in it.
Right.
So it's
And
we
so
say it's funny. It's not really funny, but to mischaracterize something as a weapon of mass destruction, that's only for the people who are truly ignorant of the fact of firearms.
And so, what are you saying the difference is? And this is just for our viewers to get a better understanding, because this is what this is all about: educating people on the difference of this. Because, like you said, you're not going to carry an AR-15 into combat. Why? Like you said, because of different specs. The M4 Carabine, which we carry there, is built to a certain spec to hire a certain amount of rounds, whereas the AR-15 is not built that way. The M4 is fully auto, which means I can just pull the trigger and it's going to keep going until I let go of the trigger, versus an AR-15 semi-automatic. A round is only going to come out as fast as I can pull my finger on that trigger, right? That's the difference, folks. And that's what we're trying to get you to understand. So what you're hearing, like Joe said earlier, what they're telling you in the media, they could be pushing an agenda. They could be pushing fear. This is why you have to know. You have to learn for yourself. And this is why we took it upon ourselves to do this show, because it's too much, too many myths out there about it. And we need to dispel those myths so that you know and understand what's going on. Because, and I'll just go ahead. Mike knows we don't like to get political on here, but I believe they're out to try to affect our Second Amendment rights, and they need to do that through fear. Right. That's why they're calling it an assault rifle. And that's not what AR stands for, as Joe said earlier.
And just for a little bit of clarification, Joe, you had 2 rounds up there that you showed us a little bit earlier before we started the show. If you could put up a typical round for an AR-15 versus a typical round for just a regular hunting rifle that people perceive as a regular hunting rifle, if you could put them up there and explain the difference for us, that'd be great.
You got it. So I brought down a bunch of, not a bunch, but a few to kind of, show the viewers and help people distinguish between what we're talking about. Because, when people don't know, and when the media and people who are in the media or people who are in government and they don't know what's going on, what an AR-15 is and what it does, it kind of, it puts ideas in uneducated people's heads. And so if you just take the common shotgun round, okay, and that's the size of a shotgun round, all right, and again, it's double-aught buck. It has 8 to 9 pellets in there, and they're about the size of a 9mm bullet. A AR-15 round. It's a 22 caliber. So this is the cartridge. This is a bullet. Okay. The bullet is up on here inside, and it fits in a casing, and the casing is filled with propellant. On the back side is the primer. And so, you're talking about a 22 caliber bullet round that's on here. Okay. That's inside that casing. All right. To put that into perspective, and this in some states is illegal to hunt with. So there are some states that you can hunt with .223 or .556, and then there's other states that won't let you because the bullet here, the 22 caliber bullet, is too small. Okay, it's not going to kill, humanely. Those states feel that it won't kill humanely a deer or whatever you're hunting for. Okay, in perspective, here's a 30 caliber round or a 30-30 a bullet, and in comparison to the .223, okay, much bigger. This kills deer. Very, very big round, very heavy round, slow moving round. Casing's bigger. The bullet is 30 caliber versus 22 caliber on the AR-15 round. Okay, and then to put this one aside, and you want to go deer hunting or you want to go elk hunting, here's a 7mm or 7 mag, okay, in comparison to that and how big that round is, okay. And so again, I mean, when you talk about, I mean, the nonsense of mass destruction, a rifle of mass destruction, or whatever however you want to phrase that big ugly AR-15 gun, and trying to compare it to a hunting round. Okay, it just doesn't compare. It just doesn't compare. Okay, and you shoot this mag, the 7 mag, and your shoulder is going to hurt for a week. When I get ready to go hunting, and I put that on the and put, get ready to line up my scopes and shoot 100, 200 yards out with it. I put 4 or 5 rounds, and I'm like, oh, I'm done. And it's because it hurts. AR-15, no, there is no recoil. AR-15s are great for women to shoot. They're just no recoil, very, very accurate. And again, you're shooting a 22 caliber round bullet off the top with a faster propellant than it would be on a 22 long rifle type gun.
Definitely puts things in perspective, especially as far as that argument of of mass destruction, like you say, a weapon for mass destruction. It kind of makes that term look silly when you compare the 2 rounds. AR-15 is probably, like you said, one of the easiest rifles to shoot. That's why. Even for beginning shooters, no one who's never shot a firearm before, I always thought that an AR-15 was a perfect rifle for someone first time starting to shoot. It's the easiest, less recoil. I mean, it is like your Swiss Army knife. Someone said, I heard on the media before, your Swiss Army knife of rifles. What do you say about those rounds, the comparison of those rounds? Do you have any input on that?
Well, I'll make one correction for the 223 or 5.56. Yes, most states won't allow you to hunt with them. It's mostly used as a varminting rifle. When I go home, that's what I use on a farm to dispatch varmints. The only advancement, I should say, it's a company called Barnes Bullets, or a company that makes solid copper projectiles at Mushroom. If you throw one of those in a 223, about to 100 yards, you can drop a deer with that. But that's a specialized bullet. Also, with the A-frame bullet, due to the bullet's construction, it'll penetrate deep enough. But with your average round, unless you're doing a head or neck shot, that's a finesse rifle if you're gonna hunt with it. And a lot of other people, yes, the 5.56 is the cartridge we've been using since Vietnam. Before that, y'all guys are well aware, we had M14s, shot 308, which is a more significantly larger round, 30 caliber, and also the 30-06 in M1 Grand. That was a round that we used to shoot people with. So, I mean, people have killed, the 30-06 is known for killing everything walking the earth, and we used to shoot grown men with that back in the day during World War II. Now, if you look at today's 5.56 compared to those cartridges, you got to ask yourself, 308, 7.62 military terminology, and the military 30 cal, which is 30-06. Those rounds were way more robust than a 5.56. And I'm pretty sure if you were to meet a World War vet, they'd tell you don't want to get hit with that. I mean, those rounds are pretty devastating on target. I mean, I grew up hunting with a 30-06. I can tell you firsthand, that's a very devastating round, as well as the 308.
Yeah, a question here from Frank. So, what's the difference between a 22 and a 223? Why the bigger casing if it's just a 22 projectile?
All right, so your 22 projectile goes across a vast number of cartridges, from standard cartridge to Wildcat cartridges. That's just the diameter, the OD of the bullet. A 22 long rifle, which is a rimfire cartridge, is very short. I should have brought one of those out, and I didn't think about it. That shoots anywhere from around a 30 to a 40 grain lead projectile. It's not super high velocity, but what makes the 22 long rifle so devastating on a human target is, one, it's moving around the same speed as buckshot. Buckshot's approximately a 32 caliber pellet, and a 22 is a 22 caliber pellet. If you get out a caliber, that's in thousands of inch measurement. So your 22 long rifle and your buckshot's moving roughly around the same speed. The difference with a 22 long rifle, that's a bone riding son of a gun. You can get shot in your foot, and that'll pop up in your abdomen because it'll ride your bone all the way up. And a lot of people are not aware some of the most dangerous projectiles created are hard cast or semi-hard cast lead. It's it penetrates very well. When you talk about the 5.56 or your 223, yes, it's in the family of 22 caliber cartridges, but you're talking about, let's just say, anywhere from 900 to 1100 feet per second for the 22 long rifle to anywhere up to 4,000 feet per second with a 223 or 5.56 projectile. You can load that 223 with a 36 grain varmint grenade and push it almost 4,000 feet per second. And that bullet's not going to penetrate very well because that's not what it's designed to do. It's designed to go in and distribute maximum energy, aka somewhat explode, and that's what you use on fur bearing. So when you get to your military rounds, your 5.56, they're going to be moving the 55 grain will move slightly over 3,000. Will be over 3,000 feet per second. When it hits the human body, it has a little ring around it called a cantilever. Once it impacts, it's going to yaw or turn, and it's going to bend, just like if you crease any piece of metal and put pressure on it. It's going to break at that pressure line on the, if you will. And that's why those wound cavities are so devastating, because once the projectile enters, turns, yaws, bends, it's going to distribute more energy on the target. The preferred round, certain groups in the military, is the 5.56 sniper round, which is a 77 grain hollow point. So you got a bullet moving around 2,700 feet per second. It's got the same cantilever, so it's going to hit harder than your 55 or 62 grain projectile, and it's going to have the same characteristics. It's going to penetrate so far, it's going to turn sideways, bend, and increase the wound channel. So your main differences are 22 long rifle is a lead bullet. It has maybe 4 grains of powder in it. Your 223 or 5.56 can have anywhere up to 24 grains of powder, and it's a copper jacket bullet moving anywhere from 2,700 feet to 3,000 plus feet per second.
Okay.
So your speed and your cartridge size plays a big deal.
Okay. And I think it was you said it go a little earlier, you know, AR-15 might look really intimidating, right? But it from what you guys are telling us, an AR-15 is really a simple rifle. And,
Mike, can I add to that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, and just to, because you actually, I mean, that's a big mouthful that you said there, because it is. I mean, it's a really versatile firearm that you can attach anything, and that's why it's so liked by many, is because I can shorten the stock for smaller people. I can add, I can have the pistol grip or not have a pistol grip on it, depending on the type of rifle I have. I can attach certain optics to it. Do I want to shoot long range? I can shoot long range. I can shoot short range, for, close quarter, stuff. I can put lights on it. I can put lasers on it. I can manipulate this firearm to fit me. I'm a left-handed rifle shooter, so I can put left-handed buttons on it to, so I can work on that left side with my fire controls. So there's a lot of things, because the rifle is so versatile, that it can fit anybody, and you can build it out to, to whatever function you want. Do I want it for hunting? Do I want it for defense? Do I want it for plinking? And it's so modular that way that that it's a very liked, very loved rifle, and there's a lot of them out there.
So thus far, for our viewers, I know this is a lot, and I know we kind of went off in the deep end with the caliber of the rounds and things of that nature, but
all very important, though.
All very important, but and hopefully that puts it all into context for you, that an AR-15, based on what these guys are telling us, is that an AR-15 is a good weapon, but it's not something that you will want to carry into combat. Why? Because there's much more powerful weapons out there that could be a better weapon of choice if you want to go off on that down that road to look at doing more damage. The AR-15 is just not that type of weapon, and so now we have to. All right, now what are they really trying? Why are they trying to tell us that it's a weapon of mass destruction? And now hopefully now you have a better understanding of what an AR-15 is, and it does not stand for assault rifle, as we said earlier. So, let's talk about that 30-round magazine. That's another component of this. Everybody ties the AR as, okay, it's an assault rifle. It's going to go out here and the rifle itself is going to go out here and kill everybody. But as Joe said earlier,
because of the number of rounds, you're saying, right?
Right.
Now, for our viewers, just so you know, Joe and I are on the West Coast, so we can't have anything more than 10-round magazines out here on the West Coast. But obviously, that's quite different in other parts of the country. I'll let you. I'm gonna let you guys touch on that. What your thoughts are on the amount of rounds that one has in their firearm.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first, Joe?
I carry 10 rounds in I can only carry 10 rounds in my firearm, but go ahead. Why don't you start with the 30 rounder?
All right. So your 30-round magazine is your standard capacity magazine. During the Vietnam era, generals didn't want soldiers running around with 30-round mags. So in the beginning of the existence of the M16, they had 20-round mags. Then it obviously evolved to 30-round mags. But at the end of the day, a trained individual, and I know that's pushing it to a degree. If you give me 3 30-round mags, which is going to be 90 rounds, and if you give me 9 10-round mags, the only thing that's going to delay me is doing a mag change. The capacity of the magazine has no bearing on what I can do with the weapon system. Once again, it goes back to training. If you're a trained individual, you telling me I can't have 30 rounds isn't going to stop me from accomplishing my task if I'm driven to do it. It was a sheriff who did a video where he had 4 38 revolvers, and he did a demonstration of magazine doesn't matter. He pulled out those 2 38s. I forgot the term they used. It was a handy little nickname from back in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. So he drew 2 38s, dumped them into a silhouette, dropped them, pulled out 2 more 38s, dumped them into the target, and I want to say he did it one more time, but his whole point was this was a 6-round capacity with the cylinder. It did not stop me from discharging these rounds. I found a way around it. And his whole point was criminals are going to always find a way around it.
Okay, Joe. Joe, let me get your opinion on that too. As far as do you think it's any more effective to have 30-round magazines besides 10-round magazines? Goat touched a lot on that as far as what kind of damage could be done that it really doesn't factor in. You could, if someone is really driven to cause that much damage, they could do it with 3 10-round magazines, just like 1 30-round magazine.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
It's exactly what you just said, Mike. I mean, perfect sense. When we were working on patrol, and we had our 30 round, and some of us had 20 rounds. We were trained in it, and we can we can defend ourselves. And I think that's the thing is, again, when I talk about it being politically motivated, 30-round magazines are standard magazines. That's what's kind of standard out there that comes with an AR-15 when you go out and buy it in a different state besides California. And so with that said, you're talking about standard magazines, and then you come in and you try to regulate the number of bullets. Well, that means I just got to reload quicker, more, on a 10-round magazine. what you're doing by limiting or trying to, outlaw those things is people who are buying these firearms to defend themselves. You're limiting their defense. That's what you're doing. Because the bad guys, your criminal intent, are going to get those 30-round magazines. They're going to get 60-round magazines. They're going to get 100-round magazines. They're going to get what they want to get. It's the the average citizen who, it's almost April 15th. So you're hardworking, tax-paying citizens, who follow the law and everything who are being limited from being able to protect themselves. That's what a 30-round magazine is for. It's to have rounds in your firearm to be able to defend yourself and your family. And that's it. I mean, it's, hunting out here, you can, I think it's, 3 rounds in your firearm, in your rifle, for hunting. So you can't go out and just, blast an animal, at all. But at the same time, I want to defend my house. I want to defend my children. I want to defend my wife. I want to defend myself from great bodily injury. 30 rounds, and it might not be enough. I might have to reload. I don't know, but why is the government going to limit that and call that illegal, when all they have to do is just follow, and I'm going back to our police days, Mike. All they got to do is follow the California law, the penal code, and put some of these criminals in jail and keep them there. And, that's gonna solve a lot of crime.
Yeah.
So I think that's key too. Having that discussion with someone the other day, it's like, what do you know? I don't, and I know where he got the talk. He got the talking point from the media, because he says to me, well, why do you need a 30-round magazine to go hunting? I said, well, I have a 30-round magazine I go hunting with. I said, but do I put 30 rounds in it? No, girl, I probably had 5 or 6 in there, right, to go hunting with. And then, I topped off when we were, sighting in our scopes and doing some target practice. It's like you said, Joe, when you buy, it used to come with a 30-round magazine, but some states have regulated that now. And, in policing, what are we always taught? We're taught to be one up on the criminals, right? Well, I want to be one up on you if you're trying to break in my house. You coming in with a 30-round magazine or with an extended clip with your Tech 9 or whatever, I'm gonna have my AR with 30 rounds and maybe a couple more magazines. I'm not going to be outgunned in my own house or defending my family. It's just not going to happen. And for me, that's why I have them, Mike. What say you?
No, I agree 100%. I think that's the best way of looking at it. If you are defending your house, your family, somebody breaks into your house, are you going to feel more comfortable with 30-round magazines, or are you going to feel more comfortable with 10-round magazines? Well, I'm going to feel more comfortable with as many rounds as I need. I think people have the false perception of when I shoot somebody, I'm going to hit them the first time or the second time or the third time. I might have to hit you. I might not hit you until the 5th time if I'm not a good shot, right? Or if I got the wrong angle, whatever it is. There are a lot of reasons to have 30 rounds in your magazine if you are talking about an incident where you are protecting your house or your family. You see what I'm saying? You can't dictate how many times you'll shoot in that kind of situation. Just like an officer who shoots someone because he or she feels that their life is threatened. We're not counting bullets. You know what I'm saying? We're shooting until that threat is gone. You might need 30 rounds. Hell, you might need more than 30 rounds. You don't know. So, that's my whole opinion on 30-round magazines. But really good. Go ahead, Joe.
No,
was that you, Corey? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say it, and that's the whole thing. I mean, like Joe says here, or J Command 1456, 30-round magazines have been around for a very long time, right? And now you just have to start asking the question, well, why is it now that they're wanting to regulate that? Because we all know, right? law-abiding citizens are going to be the ones to obey these laws, right? The criminals aren't. So is it that the government wants the criminals to have the upper hand over the citizens? And if they do, why?
Yeah, I think
are
it's a false sense of security.
right? Who are your laws protecting? Right? You create a new law, it's really hurting me. It's hurting the citizens, right? Because unfortunately, we're going to be the ones to abide by your laws.
Hey, it's like Joe said earlier. We could do a whole
Right.
show on law-abiding citizens and people that who are not obeying the laws in this country right now. So,
right. I like you said, that's a whole nother show. I know Corey and I will try not to get political, but
well, I mean, we're talking about an AR-15 being a weapon of mass destruction, right? And we're dispelling that myth by saying there's other weapon systems out there that can do more damage to you than an AR. If we're in a club, right, a packed club, and I pull out a knife, I can get 10, 15 people with that knife before I'm taken down. Because
5 gallons of gas and a road flare, you can do a lot.
Joe, I like coming out of events alive. I'm not a suicidal type of person.
I'm just telling you, let's talk about mass destruction, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. And when we're trying to limit something that is, constitutionally our right, I believe, my opinion only, that I believe that we have the right to bear arms, and we don't have the right to bear arms because a deer was trying to hurt us. We have the right to bear arms because a government, a tyrannical government was coming after us. Okay, and so that's why our founders put it in there, and it's also to protect our First Amendment. And so, with that said, I think, again, my opinion. I think we need, to make sure that, people get educated and understand what that looks like, and what, and the government is not going to automatically just take those guns away. If they were to come in and just start to take guns, there would be a lot of people up in arms about that. Okay, I mean, literally, right? There would be a lot of people. I mean, it would cause mass terror. What they're going to do, I believe, is take it, a little bit at a time. And magazines, they're trying that. I think one of our viewers were talking about ammo. They're trying with that. They're doing a lot of things. I mean, California's gun roster right now, which is just totally ridiculous. They're only letting,
get me started on that.
Yeah, they're only letting us Californians buy certain guns that they put on their little list that we can buy, and that's wrong. It's being challenged right now in the court system, but that's what's going on. It's
and just to give you guys, some of our viewers, a little idea of this gun roster that California has. Just for example, like the roster will have a SIG Sauer 226 on there, right? But not just any 226. It'll say something like you can only have a black colored 226, but you can't have the other model 226. You can have two of the same 9mm, but because this 9mm isn't on the roster and this one is, you can only have that 9mm that's on the roster. And as we all know, gun companies come out with new guns just about every year or two. You know what I mean?
Well,
California maybe has. How was that?
Glock, Glock is on their 5th generation right now. So they got 5 generations out right now. In California, you can buy the 3rd generation only.
There you go. So this gun roster in California, we can pretty much do another show on that one. But the gun roster sucks. That's my personal opinion. The gun roster in California sucks. There's another topic I want to get on, gentlemen, before we get too much time passed here, and that's ghost guns. We hear that term on the media a lot, especially recently with a couple of shootings, and people, I think, don't have a good understanding of exactly what a ghost gun is considered to be. Go. Why don't you tell us a little bit? What exactly is a ghost gun?
All right. So there's the term ghost gun is another term people decided to make up. So there's the 1968 Gun Control Act, which is a law, said that if you're not a law-abiding citizen can build their own firearm. That's where that comes from, and it's just another way to chip away at your rights. If you're not a prohibited person, you can own a firearm. We all of us are aware of this. They're trying to say because you create a gun that doesn't have a serial number on it, that it's untraceable and all that. So the law says when you build your own firearm, because from these kits or if you build it from scratch, if it is for your personal use and not commercial use, you have no intent of selling it, and technically you can't pass it on, there you go. You are lawfully allowed to have that. The law says that.
Okay, Joe. Now let's talk about the West Coast. Now, is it the same on this side of the country as far as ghost guns are concerned?
With California, I don't think you can. So you can't possess or make your own firearm. And so I know like there's certain states like Florida, you can still do it. Back east, I believe, and I believe there's some states in the Midwest, but that's under control. A lot of the kits that are being sold, the P80 kits, again, your firearm or your frame to the firearm comes 80% built. They put it in a jig and they drill certain holes into it, and then that allows them to be able to now buy the barrel and the slide and the parts for it to the internals to be able to set those in there and do that. But I believe with California's law, you have to go and get it serialized with ATF and register it. But there are some states that you don't, and again, we were talking about, what Goat was just talking about. I mean, it's something that I'm building for myself, and I can't pass it on, I can't sell it, I can't do it because it's not serialized. And if I'm a law-abiding citizen, why not? At the same time, it's not an easy process.
No.
It was one of those things that you're watching the news and you are watching the president, you're watching people who don't know what they're talking about, saying that they're putting them together and in 10 minutes and look at this and look at all these pieces of parts and you could just put this together. It's not that easy, and people have ruined frames. People, it's a craft, and the people that do it very well, and the people that can't, they can't, and you won't be able to put it together.
Look at it like this: would you pick up a guy off the street to change the oil in your car?
No, yeah, good point, Goat. Good point. No,
I mean, everybody's not mechanical. Everybody doesn't have graceful hands to create these things. I understand the law enforcement side of, if I gen out 20 of these and sell them to the local gang, that's an issue. But you can't put those together in 30 minutes. So
if you get everything done right, you can't do it.
I think this is just This is just another way for them to affect the law-abiding citizens. Again, if I am a criminal and I do have that skill set and I can mass produce these things, and I'm a criminal, I'm a career criminal. What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm selling these things on the black market. That's what criminals do. So again, these laws now, which they're trying to enact now with the so-called ghost guns, is only affecting the law-abiding citizen. Now you're telling me now I can't even make my own weapon now. It's got to be this kit, and it's got to be serialized. Making the process again harder for the law-abiding citizen.
Well, and they're giving them those, that ghost gun. They're giving them those scary, fear-mongering, names, and trying to do that. The thing is, I mean, you go back to last year. when before the president was, on this track of banning ghost guns. No one really heard about ghost guns. I mean, they were being talked about, but you think about it. I think it was December. It was what is it? 5.6 million people, new gun owners, DOJ. Their background checks and all that stuff was happening. People are buying guns. They're not. The majority of people. Right. They're not going out and building guns. Okay, because a lot of them, number one, can't do it, and the ones that are doing it for hobbies, and doing that. So you got all these millions of people last year registering their guns, going through background checks, doing everything properly, and getting their firearms, not building them in their back garages with ghost gun equipment, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, here, this might be the police officer talking in me, but my opinion on ghost guns, the one thing I don't have a problem with is requiring that all firearms be serialized. As an officer, if I have to deal with firearms or be confronted with firearms, first of all, for our viewers, officers are going to assume everybody's armed until we confirm that they ain't, right? But I'd much rather have, I'm definitely pro-gun, but I'd much rather have every firearm serialized to be able to be tracked. Now, is that realistic? Well, criminals file off serial numbers all the time. You know what I'm saying? Criminals, they don't care about, like we always have said on this program so far, they don't care about those laws. They don't care about serial numbers or anything like that. But my personal opinion is if you're going to build a gun on your own and you are going to be that type of person that does that, I don't have a problem with them requiring you serialize that firearm. What do you guys think about specifically the serialization, if you will, of firearms that are built like that?
It's not going to stop the criminal.
No, it's not. It's not. But at least in crimes that you're investigating or something like that, if you're fortunate enough to have a firearm that you come across on a crime scene, at least you'll have something to go off of as far as where that firearm came from. No? What do you think about that?
Well, so what most people do... Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Well, think about it, Michael. With that said, I steal a gun in San Diego, and I bring it up here, and I commit a crime with it. How do you know what is the serial number going to benefit that crime? Where is that going to fit in? I mean, later on, I'm going to get ballistics on the gun. I'll be able to get, the round will, might be able to tell me something, but I'm going to collect evidence. But I mean, the serial number itself isn't really going to help me with, the investigation of the crime per se. Where now I have a felon who's in possession of a firearm. I find the firearm. I find out that it's stolen. We have a crime there. We have a felony. And we can go there. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, he has a gun that's not serialized, and he's a felon. He's not supposed to be possessed, right? I see where you're going with that, but it's not the end all be all. To where now we're punishing your average tax-paying citizen that's out there as a hobbyist or whatever, building a gun for themselves. And now we're going to say that, hey, it needs to be serialized and it needs to, or you're going to be a felon, if you don't, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I think there's different ways of approach.
What do you say about that, Goat?
Well, most people who do this, they put a number on there. Because even the guys, when this first all started with the Gen 1 Polymer 80, they said, hey, people wanted a metal piece to put a number on. If I had any, I would put my initials and last four on it. So if it was to be stolen, it's marked. As far as making someone do that, I don't think they should make anyone do it. But me personally, I'm going to mark my own because of obvious reasons. But I don't think you need to make anyone do it, because at the end of the day, you're not a prohibited person and you're within the law. Doesn't matter. This is all about the criminal. Don't criminalize the law-abiding citizen. That's my dirty diaper on that one.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that.
I think that's the big takeaway here. It's like it's not to criminalize the law-abiding citizen. I mean, that's what it feels like, because even here in Virginia, we have the right to, as long as you're not a convicted felon. I mean, you have that right to. You can make your own weapon. Here now, you just, I mean, again, that's one of those things that we stated earlier. It's just more laws and regulations that we have to abide by, and we know good and well the criminal is. And I think, like J Command 1456 says, that the criminal will just get their own, gunsmith or somebody they know that's can erase the serial numbers off the gun and make it non-traceable.
Just like they do, where you're not supposed to have weapons in jail or in prison, but just like they do, they go and they go to the guy who can make shanks, and they go get a shank from that guy, right? So they have their connects and they have their and again, and we're beating, we keep beating the drum, but it's tying, tax-paying citizens, their hands behind their back. They're unable to defend themselves. They're unable to do what's right for them, and because of criminal element, which we should be dealing with. I mean, let's focus on them instead of your average citizen who's having a gun in their house to protect themselves, or who's making a firearm for a hobby. Let's focus on let's have those conversations. What are we going to do about criminals, and and keeping them behind bars, or keeping them and helping out the cops.
So basically, what I hear you saying, Joe, is let's punish the criminals and focus on that, and enforce the laws we have on the books already, because we all know,
Drinking
and driving,
right? Penal codes,
right.
That thick.
Right.
I mean, Virginia, Ohio, same thing, right? I mean,
we have two that thick.
Your laws are on the books. Let's
they're on the books.
Those laws.
Yeah,
and I want to say that shooter in New York was a convicted felon, so he was a prohibited person. He still had a firearm.
The Sacramento shooting here. That guy was on parole or probation.
I think he's on parole.
He just got out in February.
So I mean, let's focus on these people and people who are proven to be wrong, proven to be criminals. You walk like a duck, you talk like a duck. You must be a duck. And
that's right.
Let's do that.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up here. I don't want to keep you guys any longer than we have to. I really appreciate you guys being guests on the show. For our viewers who might have missed it today, we covered a lot. We talked about ghost guns, as you just know. We talked about AR-15s and whether or not people consider that as a weapon of mass destruction. You got two gun experts on here that clearly shot that down. Okay. We talked about the difference in types of rounds and showed you what that looks like, just to keep it in perspective. Gentlemen, really thank you for being on the show and embellishing us and making us look good. Okay.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. I'll do it anytime, as long as my wife gives me permission.
Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel tonight, and share this out to everybody, because like we said in the beginning of the show, this is something that everybody needs to know and understand, and not buy into, the AR-15 is a weapon of mass destruction. As you heard tonight, and we just dispelled that myth. No, AR-15 is not a weapon of mass destruction. All right, look it up, do your own homework and research. Just don't listen to what you hear on the news, right? Just take the time to learn for yourself, and you'll find out that there are a lot more dangerous weapons out there than just an AR-15, as Joe showed you tonight with some examples. So thank you both for being with us tonight, and Mike and I will be back Saturday night to talk about the shooting that just took place. Well, the video was just released yesterday, wasn't it, Mike? About a shooting that took place in Michigan, wasn't it? Yeah, up in Michigan.
Officer shot a person who grabbed his taser, for lack of better words, but we're gonna talk about that real quick and get it. That's about to blow up, we think. So we'll give our opinion.
Yeah.
On it.
It's
And,
making its rounds
see what it
on
is.
the news medias.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank y'all for joining us. Thank you guys both for being here tonight,
Thank you.
and we will see y'all on Saturday, 8 o'clock. Be there, be square.
All right, y'all have a good night.
All right.